Hello, hello. How are you doing today? Welcome to the afternoon stretch break. So happy to have you all here with me. We're going to go ahead and get started with some stretches. My name is Jazzy, health fitness specialist with Exos at Autodesk. And if you have anything today you would like to be worked on, anything that's a little bit tighter today that you want a little extra attention to, feel free to drop that in the chat box and I will add that in to today's stretch break. Lisa likes some neck. I can definitely throw some neck stretches in there for us today. So we can go ahead and start with those. So let's go ahead and start in a nice standing position. You can either be seated or kneeling for this stretch. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take one hand. So I'm going to start with my left hand and I'm going to place it in between my shoulder blades here. So my left hand is in between my shoulder blades. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look down and tilt my head to the side. So bringing ear to the shoulder. And I'm going to place my right hand on top of my head. And we're just going to let that hang there and let the weight of our hand kind of stretch out the back and side part of our neck here. So we're bringing the ear to the shoulder. I want to make sure our core is nice and tight. Our back is flat. And we're going to relax here, taking nice, long, deep breaths as we exhale, feeling that stretch through the neck. And let's go ahead and do one more big inhale. And exhale. And from here, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to turn our head a little bit. So now we're going to look down towards our armpit a little bit. So we're, instead of having our ear to the chest, it's going to be more of a chin down to the ear. And we're going to do the same thing. So letting that hand just kind of sit there, give a little pressure to that neck, but we're not pulling our head down. We're just letting it rest there. So now we're getting a little bit different angle of our neck here today. Nice big deep inhales. And we're going to take long, slow exhales. Feeling any tension in our neck, leave as we exhale. And we're going to go ahead and go do one more big inhale. And a nice long, slow exhale. And we're going to gently let go of our head and drop that hand down to our side. So if we need to shake that out a little bit, we can. I know my shoulder or my arm that's behind my back is a little tight. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So now my right hand is going to be in the middle of my back between my shoulder blades. And same thing here. So we're going to be looking down, but we're going to tilt the head with bringing our left ear towards our left shoulder. Left hand goes on top of our head. So you're getting a nice side stretch through the neck. And again, the hand is just kind of gently hanging out there. We're not pulling our head down. We're just kind of letting it rest there, letting gravity kind of do its thing on our neck. Still making sure our core is activated. Our back is nice and flat. Don't want any arches here today. And we're going to do one more big inhale. And a nice long slow exhale. And from here, we're going to go ahead and look down now. So gaze is towards the armpit now. And same thing, we're going to just let our hand rest on our head and kind of get more of a stretch through the back of our neck here. Feeling the tension leave with each exhale. And let's go ahead and do one more big inhale. And a nice, long, slow exhale. We're slowly going to let that hand come off the head and bring our other hand down to the side. Again, shake that out a little bit if you need to. And let's go ahead and do a couple neck circles. We're going to go ahead and do 3 in each direction. I'm going to start looking down, and you can go whichever direction you would like, but we're going to do 3 in one direction. So we're nice and slow, really feeling each part of our neck stretch. You might feel a couple cracks here. I know I'm hearing a few snaps, but that's okay as long as no pain is associated. We want to make sure we're making as big of circles with our neck as we can. Once we've done 3 in one direction, we're going to go ahead and do 3 in the other direction. And we're going to go ahead and do one more here. And return to neutral when we're done. Awesome job, everyone. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do a nice shoulder and chest opening stretch. So we're going to take our hands, interlace our fingers behind our back, and we're going to push the knuckles towards the ground, bringing our gaze up towards the ceiling or sky if you're outside. We want to make sure we're pushing our knuckles down. That's really going to help open up our chest here. So we want a slight arch through the upper back to help us open up as much as we can. So we're kind of pulling our hands apart as they're together and pushing our knuckles into the ground. We're going to take nice, big, deep inhales into the chest. This is going to help kind of counteract all of that, all the sitting we do at our desk. Our backs tend to get a little overpowered, so we want to open up that chest because it tends to get a little bit tight after working all day. And we're going to do one more big inhale here. And on the exhale, we're going to go ahead and go into a forward fold, keeping our fingers interlaced. So now our fingers are still interlaced, but they're kind of over our head a little bit. So we're getting a nice hamstring stretch here, getting a nice shoulder and chest opening stretch as well. Want to make sure we're nice and relaxed through that upper body. And on the next exhale, we can slowly release, gently bring those arms down to the floor. And we're going to let our upper body hang here. So we're going to let gravity kind of do its thing. If you need to hold on to your elbows, if your hands are too close to the ground, you can do that. And we're just going to let our neck, head, and shoulders get a little bit heavier. With each exhale, really letting gravity stretch everything out for us here today. And on the next exhale, we can go ahead and start to make our way onto our hands and our knees here today. So getting onto the ground. And we're going to go ahead and do some quadruped rocking here today. So we're going to do a little bit of a twist though. So where our hands are under our shoulders, knees are under our hips, and we're going to add a little bit of an adductor or inner thigh stretch here today. So I'm going to take one leg, stick it out to the side like a kickstand. So my left leg is straight out to the side. Want to make sure the hips are nice and level here. And with our whole foot on the ground, heel, big toe, little toe, we're going to rock back, bring the glutes towards our heels, and we're going to hold here for a second or two, and then we're going to return to that starting position. So we want to make sure our core is nice and tight, and we're squeezing our glutes to come back up to that starting position. And really key here to make sure that our pinky toe is also touching the ground on our leg that is extended. That's going to help us really target that inner thigh and our adductors, help open up those hips a little bit. And wherever we're at, we're going to go ahead and do one more. Awesome. So we'll go ahead, and when we finish on that leg. We're going to go ahead and flip over to the other side and do it the same thing with our other leg. So now my right leg will be out to the side like my kickstand. Whole foot on the ground, rocking back, feeling that stretch on the inner part of our thigh, opening up those hips a little bit more. If you need a little bit of an extra hip opener, you can take that other knee a little bit wider than hip width or where our hands are to really get a nice hip opening stretch here. Make sure we're still not forgetting to breathe through this. And wherever we're at, we're going to go ahead and do one more. So rocking back, feeling that stretch, squeezing the glutes and coming up to center. All right. When we finish there, we're going to go ahead and do one last stretch, and we're going to end with some hip flexor to hamstring stretch. So when we finish all of our quadruped rocking with our adductor, we're going to go ahead and go into a half kneeling position here today. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and tuck our pelvis, and we're going to squeeze the glute of the knee that's on the ground. And we're going to push those hips forward until we start to feel that stretch in the inner part of our hip of the knee that's on the ground. And we're going to go ahead and reach on up overhead. So we really should feel this stretch in the inner part of our leg on the inside of our hip of the knee that's on the ground. I want to make sure we're still keeping our back nice and flat here. And on our next exhale, we're going to reach back and we're going to do a nice hamstring stretch. So toes in the air, bending forward, feeling that stretch all through the back of the leg. The more that your toes are pointed up, the higher your toes are, the more you're going to start to feel that in your calf. So if you have some tight calves, it's a really nice stretch through there. And we're going to go ahead and do one more hip flexor. So we're pushing those hips forward, squeezing the glute of the knee that's on the ground, keeping our back flat core tight. Reach on up overhead if you need a little bit of an extra stretch here. Keeping that glute nice and squeezed. Nice big deep belly breath. And we're switching back into that nice hamstring stretch. So we're bending forward, feeling that all in the back of our front leg here. Try and get as close to your knee as you can. And we're going to go ahead and release that stretch, and we're going to go ahead and switch legs. So my right knee was on the ground, and now my left knee is going to be on the ground, half kneeling position. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to tuck the pelvis, keep our core engaged, push those hips forward a little bit so we start to feel that stretch in our hip, reaching our hand overhead, getting a bigger stretch into the front of our leg here. Make sure we're not forgetting to breathe. Breathing nice and deep into that belly. And we're going to exhale and move back into that hamstring stretch. So same thing, trying to get our bodies close to our leg as we can. Toes in the air. Feeling that stretch all in the back of our leg. And we're going to go ahead and do one more each way. So we're going back to hip flexor, tucking the pelvis, squeezing the glute of the knee that's on the ground, reaching up overhead, pushing till we start to feel that stretch in our hip, reaching up as high as we can. And rocking back into that hamstring stretch. Again, the higher your toes are pointing towards the ceiling, the more you're going to feel that in your calf as well. So it's a nice all-inclusive back side of the leg stretch here today. And we can go ahead and release out of that stretch. And that will conclude today's stretch break. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope that was a nice little midday refresh. hopefully it'll get you ready to get back to work for the rest of the day. Don't forget, we do still have our holiday step challenge. Registration is open for the rest of this week, so don't miss out on that. We have some really fun prizes coming up for that. And we do also have boot camp tomorrow at 12 p.m. with Luis. We also have today at 4:30 his abs and core class, so don't miss out on that. I'm sure it's a really good time. And then we do also have another stretch break tomorrow at 3. So I hope to see everyone there, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day.
Thank you.